It's time for the daily Marvel Snap/news video. And a lot of people have been asking me what I think about this tweet and what I think about these nerfs that may be incoming from Silver Surfer and ZABU. And I've got some thoughts. And I just want to say that I think that Silver Surfer and ZABU are very, very strong. And I think they're overtuned. And some balance changes need to be made. Now, what they did to Leader, I think, was good. Leader's entire mechanic in general was just not fun to play against. And I feel like they changed Leader, but they changed everything about Leader. Like, they made him basically a different card. He now plays kind of like a weird version of Claw, let's say. But let's read this, and then I'm going to talk about what I think they can do to Surfer and ZABU, which I think will be fair, because I want them to still be playable cards, but they do need to be tuned back some way, because right now, you know, those two cards are those archetypes are the strongest, or are some of the strongest in the game for sure. They started overperforming after they locked the changes a few weeks ago. Fortunately, we now have the ability to adjust balance without a new patch. We're planning to adjust these cards in a week or so. Now, I think people are going to be upset one way or another with this, because, you know, there's going to be people that say, I spent money and then you change the cards. And there's also going to be people that say, well, I didn't purchase Surfer and ZABU, and you guys got to play them while they were broken and buffed out of control. And by the time I get them, they're going to be so neutered down. But I just want to talk about why I think they should be made some changes. And we're going to first talk about ZABU. So I want to make an analogy, and I saw this analogy, I believe, on Reddit, and I largely agree with it. But if we look at like a card like Electro, right? On reveal, +1 max energy, ongoing, you can only play one card a turn. So there's a huge downside to this card, right? Ongoing, you can only play one card a turn. So there's all kinds of cute tricks with this card. First of all, I think this is a very fair, very balanced card. But let's just talk about potential energy, or potential more energy that you can spend on this card. You play this guy on turn 3. You potentially can spend an extra energy on turn 4, turn 5, and turn 6. That's 3 energy, right? Let's look at ZABU. You play ZABU on turn 3, right? You play ZABU on turn 3. And then on turn 4, you could potentially play 2 4-cost cards. On turn 5, you can play 2 4-cost cards. And then on turn 6, you could potentially play 3 4-cost cards. The potential extra energy on ZABU, if you want to look at it just from that standpoint, is turn 4, an extra 4 energy. Turn 5, an extra 4 energy. Turn 6, an extra 6 energy. That's potentially, not every game is like potentially an extra 14 energy, with the only drawback being that it could only be spent on 4-cost cards. I am completely okay with the idea of ZABU costing 4 energy. Maybe getting a stat boost, I don't know. But even if he cost 4, the potential energy savings, still going to be 4 on turn 5 and 6 potentially on turn 6. I mean, think about the effectiveness of Sarah, which primarily is only played on turn 5, and people will do that just so they can play 3-cost cards on turn 6, right? So ZABU will not be ruined if he costs 4. The sheer power level of ZABU, being able to play it on turn 3 as opposed to potentially be played on turn 4, I think would be great. I don't think that moving the stats down on him, because you don't play ZABU for the stats. Like, even if they made him a 3-0, it's not going to change anything at all as far as the way the match out. So I would not be bothered if ZABU cost more energy. I think that he would still be a playable card, and people would get a lot of value. Now, Silver Surfer, I think, is a a pretty good card, and I don't want them to destroy these cards. I want these cards to still be playable. I just don't want them to be as dominant. And I think for me, some people said, well, let's make him a -1. And I think that might be a reasonable solution. I think typically a Silver Surfer player is usually playing Silver Surfer in the lane that they don't want to win, and they're trying to boost the other lanes that have the 3-cost cards like Brood. For me, I think I would like to see a random number, instead of it just giving a flat 3 power, what if it was give +2 or 3 power? So and each individual card has a 50% chance of getting +2 or getting +3. So you play Silver Surfer and you're off, you're all the way to the right. You've got your Broods all the way to the left. Half of the Broods go to +2, half of the Broods go to +3. I think that would still make Silver Surfer a very, very, very playable card for sure. I'm not completely, I'm not really sure that people like this idea of it being random. But there's already a lot of random effects in the game. And what my hope is that they do not change the flavor of these two cards, but they tone them back a bit. And I hope that they are still playable. So let me give you an example. There's some cards in the soft launch that were busted and they are still playable even though they changed them. And I think a good example of that is Nova. Nova used to give 2 power when he exploded, and then they dropped him in half to +1. He's still playable. Devil Dino used to be a 3/0, and you could play 2 of them on turn 6. Now Devil Dino still has the same ongoing ability as a 5/3. That going up from 3 cost to 5 cost still makes Devil Dino a playable card. And so I hope that these changes for Silver Surfer and ZABU tone them back in a way that they are still playable. Absolutely. And I think that most cards that have been rebalanced in this game, Second Dinner has done a good job of that, of keeping them still playable, but toning them back a bit. I mean, yeah, you might be alarmed to hear that Mr. Negative used to be a 4/4 card, and now he's 4 -1. And sometimes they take a measured approach and they just do a little tweak, and then they have to tweak them again. Several cards had to be adjusted more than once, and I think that is the best way to approach it. Also, I just want to say that Leader was a different situation, in my opinion. The core mechanic of, let's say, Leader or Galactus is, just changing a stat level is not necessarily changing the card. And I think the problem with Leader was the way the card worked, not necessarily the stats on the card or the power of the card. And so for me, they made him basically an entirely new card. I was not a fan of Leader at all the way that he was before. Did I play him? Yes, I played him because he won. Did I feel good when I won with him? No. It really felt bad to lose to him, and I think it was taking away from the fun of the game. And so this is a unique post here on Reddit. I've been playing Leader, and I have to say I really like his redefined ability, takes some clever planning, and adds a fun element today of trying to predict your opponent will go based on their deck and board stake. Nicely done. I lost to Leader today, and I got to tell you what. I was well played. Fist bump. It didn't feel slimy. I just lost because the guy predicted where I was going to play, and it worked out for him. It felt like I lost fairly. And I feel that way about certain cards, Arrow. When they use Arrow and it works out right for them, it doesn't feel bad. I got to tell you, it almost always felt bad when I lost to Leader before they changed him. And to a lesser extent, I also feel that way about Galactus. It just feels kind of weird when you lose to Galactus. But anyways, so I'm happy with the changes. Now, also, I want to talk about this. Would you like to have a feature showing which cards have been discarded? Yes. That's it. I just thought oftentimes I find myself multitasking while playing, answering a message when I have no idea what blade or whatever you discarded. I know the joke's on me. about what you think, except for shifting through apps while playing. So there's, you know, when you click on your name, it shows like the number of destroyed cards and the number of discarded cards, and you should just be able to push on that and it should show you. If you were playing on the Steam client, there is an app that basically does that for you, and it's at untapped.gg, and it unfortunately only works on the Steam client, but basically you can click right here, destroyed and discarded, and it'll show you the cards. And then also, and it doesn't give you any information that you wouldn't normally not had. It's just information, like if you forget or the location forces you to discard a card and you weren't looking at the screen closely, or for me, like I'm reading chat or something like that. And then it's just nice to be able to go up there and get the information quickly. I suppose if you were like hyper focused and you had a pen and paper, the same would affect. But this is just definitely more of a feature that's convenient. I highly recommend it. Also, Reddit normally has kind of super salty posts. And you know, like this, it says angry Redditor, I whine on the internet. It's kind of like, you know, fine, right? I kind of giggle when I go, but I just thought this was helpful. Don't forget to take breaks or stop playing altogether if you have to. I bought Midnight Suns a few days ago, ended up taking an unintentional break from Snap. My wife mentioned I seemed much happier since I didn't have how much Marvel Snap affected my mood. Bad RNG or bad locations really does suck a lot of fun out of the game. So after some bad luck this morning, I decided to install for a bit. I'm sure most people won't care or love the RNG aspect. I personally get tired of it sometimes. If you do too, it's okay to take a break. Mental health is more important than your collection level rank. Yeah, and I think people, even myself, have done this where, you know, if a hot location or a featured location just really doesn't sit right with me, I've noticed that I can take time off from Marvel Snap and just not play. I also think the hot location, the featured locations are some of the most clever, best things in the game. 2 days seems like a long time, but you know, it really allows people to take advantage of understanding the location. And my biggest climbs have typically been on those days where I've been able to navigate with a deck that complements those locations. And you know, my final push to infinite was achieved because I was able to work around the location. So I think it's a very smart mechanic, but I also understand just not wanting to deal with the location. And we'll end the video on this note. I love it when this happens. And Leech and says, call an ambulance. But not for me. That is funny stuff to me. All right, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section, and I will see you tomorrow with another video. Bye for now.